All right, you're good. You're recording.
Okay, great. Okay, good morning. This is the Sustainable Old Lyme team. We are meeting at our regular meeting Thursday, April 1st, 2021, 9 a.m. We have present myself, Cheryl Poirier, Maureen Plumley, and Holly Lyman. Our guest today is Jen Miller from Region 18 Board of Education, and absent today is Mary Jo Nozel. Our first piece of business is voting to accept the minutes of the March 4th meeting. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
And do I have a discussion or second? Maureen, if Maureen can unmute in a second, unless I can second. I can second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We have today a guest for our meeting, and we're very happy to have her here today. It's Jen Miller from the Region 18 Sustainable Team or Committee, and she's going to tell us about the efforts there. And I have control of the PowerPoint, so Jen, while you're speaking, just let me know when you're ready for me to turn the slide.
Okay, great. Thank you for having me. So yeah, we've been looking forward to this. I'm getting a little bit of an echo, so I don't know if everybody wants to mute except for me. So Region 18 basically has kind of from a parent's perspective and from a audience perspective, when I joined the board a year or so ago, there were several residents in town who were very passionate about certain things, eliminating styrofoam in the cafeteria, going to stainless steel, no single-use water bottles, things like that, as well as trying to be a more sustainable community as far as fossil fuels go. So putting that all together, we created a sustainability committee. It's an advisory group to the Board of Education, and how that works is underneath the Board of Ed, which services Lyme and Old Lyme, there's basically a group of parents, residents, whatever, actually not even school parents, they're just residents of Lyme and Old Lyme who are participating with us in this committee, along with the superintendent of the schools, Ian Nevisor, the Board of Ed President, Diane Linderman, and several other members. So what we did was create the sustainability committee, and we'll go to the next slide. And the very first thing that we did was, this was kind of the impetus behind the whole thing, was to have a big goal. And this goal was to, highlighted in yellow here, is to achieve 100% clean energy by 2030. And we're kind of connected to the state goals, the regional goals, New England and Connecticut in particular. However, what we were trying to do was to establish this big, audacious goal, basically, to eliminate all fossil fuels from our campuses by 2030. And that would be electricity, heating, like you see there, transportation, which we don't necessarily control because we service out those buses, but transportation, all by 2030. And believe it or not, the school was kind of progressing in baby steps towards, that they didn't have a goal around that, but they were progressing towards that with kind of thinking about every decision they made to improve the community health, et cetera. But anyhow, this is our goal. We included in there, you'll see a little bit further down, but beyond the yellow highlighted is also about the curriculum and education. That has manifested itself through the state of Connecticut and various initiatives federally, nationally, I should say, that included in the curriculum will be increasingly, you will see green energy, green jobs, so those types of skill sets and learnings included in the curriculum. But for right now, we wanted to make sure that we at least had some sort of focus on STEM and green energy concepts throughout their curriculum from K through 12. So next slide. So the Board of Ed adopted that back in June of last year. And we were given a 1-year time frame to come up with what I would call a roadmap towards creating Region 18 sustainability. And this is the operating structure that we came up with. Basically, we have the Board of Ed, which is the de facto decision maker with the administration, of course. We have a sustainability committee core team, and basically that meets every month, and we meet to just confirm different activities that are going on from our 3 work streams, which you see below. The 4 R's, refuse, reuse, recycle, and there's another one, and renewables, and that's more around energy, the energy usage of the campuses, and education. And we're going to say education instead of curriculum, because being a public school, we can't change the curriculum. It's dictated by the state. So we have to kind of more of a marketing, advertising campaign to build awareness throughout the student population around appropriate practices and sustainability issues. And so that's one thing. So we have 3 leaders. We have the 4R workstream leader is Karen Taylor. She's a parent and a substitute teacher. Renewables is Karen Waldo.
Rebecca Waldo.
Rebecca Waldo. Rebecca owns a renewable company with her husband, and they do solar energy projects. But she's very passionate and is the one originally who brought the resolution to us from her experiences. And then on the education side, Heather Freed, who's a science teacher at the high school. She's been so involved with so many projects for years with the goal. She also operates runs the environmental club at the high school, and she's just involved with so many activities around Lyme and Old Lyme, open space, and those kinds of things. She has been great to work with. All 3 of them have just been terrific to work with. And the 3 of them basically have a team beneath them that works on each one of these things. We're kind of a limited duration team, if you will. So we're sunsetting in June of this year. We were given a 1-year kind of remit to kind of map out this roadmap, if you will, get things going, and so that's kind of where we are. We haven't quite decided yet. It'll be decided at the next board meeting or 2 what the sustainability plan is for the sustainability committee, if you will. So how are we going to go forward with this? And I believe what we're leaning towards right now is that the Board of Ed and the administration will make this a core part of their DNA, if you will. This will be a value and a goal in their strategic operating plan going forward. So we won't need a separate committee. The board will actually take this on as every decision we make will involve a conscious thought around sustainability and going forward. So if we want to have a new bus contract, we're going to think about that and decide where we are going with that. If we want to have a new gym floor, like we just did in the Lyme school, we'll think about what products go into that. New heat pump system, we're going to think about what's the right way to go with that. in keeping our 2030 goal in mind to eliminate fossil fuels from the campus. So we definitely want to get rid of diesel and heating oil by that time. So if we go to the next slide, we can see that we have a few things that we've done. So around Heather's work stream, which is the education work stream, there is a thing called a Green Leaf School, and I think you guys are probably aware of this. But we're striving. We wanted to really go for it this year, but with COVID and everything, the teachers were so busy, and we really need the teachers' input and participation in the Green Leaf School certification. But we're definitely going to go for it in the fall of 2021. Heather Freed will be in charge of that. And I have no doubt that it will go seamlessly with her leadership. We definitely want to expand what we have right now in the environmental club at the high school to the lower schools. We think there's a lot of opportunity there. We're already seeing a lot of middle school participation in cleanup crews and open space challenges and things like that. And we really think that there's an opportunity to expand those clubs throughout all the schools. We're going to seek a lot more PTO help. One thing that has come up time and time again is that there's a particular parent that has a particular passion, and they get into a particular school when their children are there, but then when they leave, it all falls apart. So we really need to find a way to sustain, something. And we're thinking that if we can make it more of a principal and PTO partnership, that we will be able to sustain the efforts, beyond one child going to 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So we're hoping that that's going to work. And Karen Taylor has been super eager. She's been presenting at a lot of PTO meetings, and I think that there's an idea there. We just have to flesh that out a little bit more about how we're going to sustain that. But anyhow, expanding the clubs at the schools, expanding the PTO partnership, we would love to see that come to fruition. We have you guys know Suzanne Thompson and the Garden Club, Lyme Garden Club. The Pollinator pathway has been expanded. This is already in place at the high school. So along where the turf field is going to be behind the high school, there's already, inklings of a pollinator pathway there. So we're hoping to continue to work with the Duck River Garden Club and expand that as well. On the renewables work stream, the biggest thing here, which I'll get to in a minute, is actually the electric vehicle buses, so zero emission vehicles. And there's so many things happening across the state and the region, the New England region, with electric vehicles. Grants and funding are coming now in a little bit bigger fashion than they were before. You may have heard of the Volkswagen diesel settlement from some years ago. That never really panned out for us, but now with the things happening with the memorandum of understanding with the New England region, there are more grants available. There's the shared partnership and community grant funding. So we are definitely exploring that. And the first couple of things we'd like to do is get a passenger van for our club teams. So we have like the chess team, the mock trial team, the hockey team. There's so many things that are 14 people or under. They just need a van to go to limited places in Connecticut. And we would like to definitely get 2 EV chargers and a passenger van for the club teams at the schools. So that's something that we're going to dive right into here pretty soon. On the flip side of that, school buses, huge issue. I'll get to that in a minute. So park that. And then for our work stream, so this has been gangbusters because actually it's been just great. This Trex challenge, I hope you've all heard of. So Trex, the composite decking material company, they have partnered with several stores, Big Y being one of them, where Big Y agrees to take all these plastic film material and basically truck it up to Springfield on their everyday trips that they make anyways to get food back and forth. And then they give it to Trex. There's a challenge. It's a national competition. Karen Taylor has registered each of our schools for the Trex challenge. We compete individually based on the size of the school. So we're competing against everybody across the nation. We're hoping to win something, which we'll find out on April 22nd if we have won anything. It goes through November 15th last year to April 15th next week, which is Earth Day. And we have so far, now it's not 2,700 anymore, it's 2,900 pounds of plastic film collected and delivered from the schools, which is amazing. When you think a huge contractor bag, like a 42, I think they call it 42-gallon contractor bag, this big, huge black one, that only weighs like 10 pounds at tops. And we've collected 2,900 pounds throughout the towns. So this is in the Lyme Town Hall, the Old Lyme Town Hall, the LYSB, and each of the schools. And it's just been an amazing turnout. We are also still struggling, to just get those bags delivered, picked up, and delivered to Big Y. So, another thing that we're trying to think of with the PTOs is how to keep this going. And we need people to pick up the plastic and actually take it to Big Y after the students weigh it and record it in their books. But so it's been coming along. I think that we have some great ideas for next year, but we're going to keep doing it throughout the school year. Even though Earth Day is in a few weeks' time, we're going to keep doing it through the end of the school year. We can't do it during the summer, obviously, because nobody can go in the schools. But we're hoping that the town will kind of get the gist of it and deliver this plastic film to Big Y, which saves it from going in the landfill because it is not recyclable in the normal single stream recycling. It has to be in a separate bin, which is at Big Y. They're also at Walmart in Old Saybrook, for instance. You'll go by a customer service. There's a big white bin there. That's where you can also put that material. But of course, for us, we're trying to win a Trex item, and it's going to be like a bench or a birdhouse or some kind of thing like that. We've also replaced all the signage. We have new recycling signs in the schools, in the classrooms, and the faculty staff areas. We have new signage, and we have new bins that can clearly delineate trash versus recyclables. The custodial staff has been great with working with us, and they have said that they have seen a difference in the two things. We've done a couple of surveys, which we hope to finish up at the end of the year. And working with Chartwells, I must say, it's COVID again has kind of threw a wrench in the works here, but we've now gone, where we were heading towards trying to move Chartwells to all stainless steel, no plastic, and no styrofoam. We, kind of had a little setback because of COVID, but Chartwells has been great in working with us and actually have now eliminated straws from being just handed out with every meal and every styrofoam tray that they serve. But next year we're gonna post COVID, we're gonna hopefully try to use those dishwashers that we have in the schools already and go back to stainless steel and eliminate the styrofoam and the single-use materials there. So I think I have one more slide, maybe.
Yep, and leading question, we doing the Trex challenge last year?
So last year and the last 3 years, the Trex challenge has been run by the high school, and they have won. They haven't won any big thing, but they last year, Leslie O'Connor, who ran the challenge just at the high school, they did win a bench. And so I think, yeah, and I think this year, like, we have huge expectations because we think that we've really been kicking it. So we're hoping that we'll have some good news in a couple of weeks. I'm going to be very sad if we don't win anything, but but the middle school, the Lyme Consolidated School has been, I mean, everybody's been great. The high school is still the biggest, like 50% of all our plastic comes in at the high school. The other 50% is made up from all the other locations. But the towns have been great in just, people that can't go into the schools, like myself. I don't have any children in school and I have no reason to go into any of the schools, but in the Old Lyme Town Hall, they've been so gracious in letting us, put things in there. And the person that works there at the front desk, he's been super helpful at emptying it out for me and everything. So it's been really good to see that there's so much. I mean, if you just think about 3,000 pounds of like plastic film, which, like I said, a 42-gallon bag is only 10 pounds. So this is a lot of plastic. And so it's been actually really good to see.
Great.
Yeah. So the last thing I just wanted to touch on is our biggest goal. I think personally, this is just me personally speaking, is school buses. So we just talked about Connecticut. There's 8,100 school buses in Connecticut. This is what they tell me. Right now there are 2 electric school buses. One's in Middletown and one's in New Haven. They're being road tested, basically. However, I think you guys know that the memorandum of understanding goal is 30% of the medium and heavy duty fleets to be electrified by 2030. But there are so many bus companies now, and engine companies and bus companies getting into the mix now. And there's been, I think you guys are probably familiar with Live Green, which is a consulting company that has been helping the state of Connecticut with these EV goals, or just green energy goals in general. They've had this great course, if you will, like once a week kind of thing on school buses back in January and February, which I attended. And there's so much going on with that. What we see what I see for Region 18 is just a huge opportunity here in about 2022, 23, 24, kind of that time frame, where we will convert our school buses to electric. And they've been tested in Massachusetts. There's been towns in Massachusetts that have completely gone to, they're not just the school buses, but the municipal fleet. We're a little bit different because we're Region 18. We're a separate budget from the towns. So we don't, like, if the town goes green, we don't necessarily go green, and vice versa, because we have a separate budget. So we have to be conscious of that. However, what we're going to pursue is on our next bus contract opportunity, which will be in about a year and a half, almost 2 years now. We currently have M&J bus company. We are working with them. We want to work with them. However, we are going to go to electric school buses. There's not a doubt in my mind that we're not going to convert to electric school buses. And that should be presentable at our next contract negotiation, whether it be M&J or we go with one of these new participants in the electric school bus field, which you see here. A lot of them have contracts where they do everything. They'll run the depot, they'll put the infrastructure in, they'll have the charging stations in, they run everything. We just pay a fee for service, which is what we're doing with M&J right now. We don't own those school buses, so we provide they provide a service to us. And that's what particularly Highland Electric buses does. It's a, it's basically a school bus service. Some of the other towns like New Haven, the municipality, the town of New Haven owns everything. They own the school buses, they own the depot, they own everything. So it's a little bit different model for us. But I'm 100% confident that this is going to be an achievable goal, especially by 2030. I'd say it's going to be by 2025. But I'm just throwing that out there. Ian doesn't know that either, but but I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be fine. So that's really all I have. So I like entertain any questions. Anybody have any questions or clarifications?
Well, that's really helpful. Can I just ask Maureen to mute for a moment, because I think that's causing some feedback on my end. Jen, thank you so much. And I want to give everyone a chance to ask questions. And I know that we also have a guest at our meeting, Wayne Kirk, who is a resident. So for this portion of the meeting, I do also want to include Wayne in having the opportunity to ask questions of Jen as a member of the public. But does anyone have questions for Jen? I was quite surprised to hear that EV buses could be as soon as the next 2 or 3 years. I mean, that's around the corner now that we're in 2021.
Yeah, there's so the grant opportunities are hot and heavy right now. So we are hoping that we can capitalize on those. The prices of the batteries in particular are expected to drop in about 2023. So they do think that the technology especially for our weather conditions, for instance, in Massachusetts, they have been tried out in Massachusetts and they were fine. There's 4 different bus types and with various mileage ranges and also various battery packs and then capacities. So we have to take into consideration our weather conditions and our routes around it. Like, we don't have like, mountains or anything like in Springfield, Connecticut or anything that we're not climbing up Mount Tom or anything. But we do have to consider the snow and the ice conditions, the battery packs. And what they're saying to us is that in 2023, 24, that time frame, that is when the battery prices are expected to drop and also be more range. So we could go like 150 miles, on a battery pack or something like that. So in a couple of years, and our contract with M&J is not up for a couple of years. So we have a couple of years to figure that out and to watch the scene. And also to get ready for it with, how we're is it gonna be a bus service, like we have with M&J? Are we gonna own the buses? Are we gonna, where's the depot gonna be? Is it gonna still be at the town-owned property where it is now? How are we going to put that infrastructure in place where they're going to have the charging stations there for the buses? Are we going to sell our electricity from the buses while they're off duty, if you will, to the grid? So there's a lot of considerations that have to go into that. But we have a couple of years to do it, and I think I'm very confident in a couple of years that we're definitely going to do this.
I have another question, but I want to open it up to others.
I don't have a question, but I have congratulations, Jen. I'm so impressed with your leadership and the summary and what the whole group has agreed on. Congratulations. Good for you. Good for everybody who's working on this. Amazing and beautiful presentation. So
thank you so much, Maureen. I appreciate it. And I mean, I like, honestly, I like was not a green person, if you will, not a sustainable person. However, I'm a recycling fanatic. However, Karen Taylor and Rebecca Waldo really were the impetus behind all of this. And Heather Freed has just been amazing at the high school, amazing. And without the three of them, none of this would have been done. So kudos to all of them. I wish they were here on the call, but they're all at work. So
Great job. Thank you.
I have one other question. Do you have any concerns about the committee sunsetting and then this just being incorporated into the values and decision-making process? Do you lose anything in not having a committee, a standing committee?
That's a great point, Cheryl. We actually discussed this at our last meeting a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. I do a little bit. However, I think that obviously I'm still on the board of ed. I think that by incorporating this into our strategic plan, which is usually done in the summer. So this summer, we'll be doing like a 5-year plan. And I think by incorporating this into what I'm calling the DNA of the Board of Ed and the administration, I think that we will still have this goal. I have utmost respect for the facilities committee. Ron Turner has just been amazing since he's been here. He's totally on board. He's on our team. He's also the head of the facilities committee. And so I think that by incorporating this into the natural fabric of the curriculum with Michelle Dean, the school board, if you will, the PTOs rather, if we could get that. The PTOs is going to be the tricky one. That's kind of sustainability with all the principals in doing this as a cohesive unit versus each school has some club member that does something somewhere sometime. Like what we are trying to ensure is that across all the schools at Region 18, we're doing a similar effort. We don't want to dictate it necessarily or mandate anything like the recycling signs and the recycling bins. However, we do want to have that cohesiveness across the schools, and we don't want to leave it up to a principal here and a principal there and a parent here and a parent there. Like we want to be able to sustain that. So I do have concerns, that it's not going to maintain the momentum that we have right now. But I have been assured, and I think the committee, the sustainability committee is together on this, that I think that if we put it in our strategic plan, if we have this goal, which is already a very public goal, and we can kind of commit to it, that I'm going to hold them accountable at the Board of Ed level. Ian for sure knows that, and Diane is totally on board. They're both on board. They've just been so helpful in progressing this. That I'm okay. That's a long answer to your short question. Sorry.
No, that's fine. And what kind of support, or how can the town, what do you need from the towns, or what do you wish you were getting from the towns? Maybe one town is better than the other town at supporting this initiative.
Well, both town selectmen have been awesome. So unfortunately, the Lyme Town Hall has been closed just to appointment only. So they, it's been less there because just how they're operating. But the towns have been great. I think that going forward, working with you and with John Kiker, I think that we need to be a cohesive group in presenting things like, like I want 2 EV chargers and I want a passenger van. So like, I don't want to compete with Lyme and Old Lyme as far as sustainable CT goes to, to do those things. So I think that it would be so great if we could all work together and share this common goal. I don't know if my priorities for the schools or your priorities for the town, you know, and that kind of thing. So I would like to work together with you guys to figure out, you know, what are all of our priorities, and then not be competing against you guys for Connecticut state, you know, funding or federal funds.
Right. Oh, Maureen, can you just mute again? Thank you. Yeah, and that shouldn't be a problem. There has been some updates to the whole process for the Sustainable Connecticut grant funding. Right now, the Giving Garden at that will be going in at Town Woods. That's a group that's getting its nonprofit status. They have a current Sustainable Connecticut grant happening. We're starting one next week for Pollinator Pathways. So it really has become much more inclusive in terms of multiple grants can be pursued at the same time. So it's not a situation where we have to, you know, line them up in a certain order. Things can happen simultaneously now. So that's really good.
Yep. Yeah, I have a call into Abe Solario just to see, you know, where we're at as far as that goes. But we're definitely going to kick off this summer a effort to get at least 2 EV chargers at the schools, probably at the center school and at the high school.
Okay, good. And is Maureen on mute? Someone's not on mute. Sorry about that. That's great. And I know also simultaneously the town residents in the town of Old Lyme are very interested in zoning, getting their EV regulations, I guess, for lack of a better word, up and running. And that process is beginning. So I think it's advantageous for all of us to be thinking about these EV chargers, because you'll be having students, you know, before you know it, students parking at the high school with electric vehicles, and families with electric vehicles, in addition to the van and the school buses. So I think we all need to get our heads around the fact that we're moving toward electric vehicles, and we need to have the infrastructure throughout town and on school grounds to support that. Any other questions for Jen?
Yes, Jen. Thank you. That was outstanding. You never know what you're going to hear, but thank you for that presentation. There's a lot of depth and breadth to the activities that are going on I was not aware of, so thank you. I'd like to mention I have a past in electric vehicles, and if you need to review or need somebody, another set of eyes on proposals or technical issues with charger sizing and things like that, I spent 1990 to 2000 at an electric car company, really working the other side. We were making vehicles. It was up in Boston, and it was really before the current push with electric vehicles. Seems though every 30 years you go through a phase, a push for electric vehicles. I'm, would you say, cautiously optimistic about what's going on now with electric vehicles. Maybe it'll really break through this time, not sure, but you know, I'm all for it. It just, you know, the batteries have been a problem. They've been a problem for 100 years. And, you know, they are, because of their limitations, electric vehicles have found, you know, great success in short run vehicle kind of fleet type situations. And I've been out of it now for 20 years, but certainly willing to help you review things going forward.
Thank you, Kirk. Maybe Cheryl, if you could send me his contact information, that would be great. Yeah, we're always looking for help. We have a couple people that have jumped in, jumped out, kind of thing. But when I heard the presentation, it was Beverly, Massachusetts. So Beverly, Massachusetts, the mayor or / first selectman there, I think he's a mayor. super sort of environmentalist, I'll just call it. But they went to all electric buses for their transportation. You know, like we have that nine town bus that goes around. They have something like that, as well as their school buses. And Beverly, Massachusetts has just gone all in. And, you know, I'm not thinking that we're going to do that necessarily, but I think that with this opportunity that we have with the upcoming contract negotiations with the M&J Bus Company, you know, obviously we're not tied to them, and but we hope that they will go in the same direction that we're all going. But like I said, there's other options that we have available to us now because of these other baby steps that other places have made. But yeah, I'd love your help, Kirk. Definitely want to talk to you more about it. This is the number one thing I think, that if we could get these school buses converted in the next 5 years, I think that would be a huge impact for us. Half the people I know, so my friend lives up on Mountain View, whatever, and she says the bus comes up there, it's empty, it goes around the cul-de-sac, it sits there for a few minutes, and then it just drives away. And there's maybe one child, you know, that they pick up there. So, you know, these things, the bus routes aren't optimal. And now with COVID, it's just everybody's driving their kids to school rather than taking the buses because of COVID. Hopefully that will change next year, and we'll get back to all the kids being on the school bus together again. Any help that you're willing to give, I'm willing to take. So happy to know you.
So I'm just going to clarify. Oh, Maureen, can you?
I think it might be.
Or someone needs to mute. Wayne Kirk's screen name starts with Kirk and then Wayne. So it's actually Wayne Kirk, and he's underselling himself. He's quite a smart person about alternative energy. So I will share your emails afterwards. And the young man you mentioned at town hall who helps you out with that plastic pickup set is Wayne's son, Christopher. So this is all a very small world.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Yeah, he's wonderful. Thank you.
So I will share your emails later this afternoon. So thank you. Anything else for Jen?
Yeah, I have one comment. Jen, I am jumping ahead into my presentation, which is next, about recycling. What I wanted to bring to both sustainability and to Conservation Commission is how we label our bins in town to encourage recycling. I was in Texas earlier this year, and they have their recycling bins like we do, but the trash bins are labeled landfill. And I don't know how if Texans pay attention to that, but it got my attention. Rather than just calling it trash and making it anonymous, you know, like pretend it disappears, I think that we should convert our maybe labels for the bins in town that are labeled on the blue bins landfill, because it makes a huge difference in thinking to realize that landfill could be the next town over, certainly not going to China or India anymore. So that might be some way to get attention by people, but I'll get to that when I make my presentation. So maybe bring that to Heather as part of the labeling process within school.
Yeah, I will, and it's a great question because, you know, the Hartford Mira is closing so next year, so all of our waste that would go to Hartford is actually going to be now trucked to New York State. So so waste in general, I think, is another issue, and we have actually contacted a couple of farms in Haddam who will pick up our food waste from the school. Again, COVID kind of distracted us, but we do have a food waste recycling program that we want to operate with a piggery in Haddam, and then there's also one in Stonington. And so we were working on those kind of details before, you know, COVID hit. But it's a great point, Maureen, and I definitely will pick that up with the team. Thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, and again, thanks for what you're doing.
Holly had
I
a
have-
question.
Well, I have sort of an amendment to that issue. I think that with recycling, the motto in town is when in doubt, throw it out. Because if you put the wrong thing into recycling, then you can kind of make that whole stream not good. And so I think, you know, I think the policy, which they thought through pretty carefully, was to say that it should go into the blue bin if you had any doubt about it at all. And so I don't think they want to do stuff that pushes people to throw stuff into the recycling if there's a question about whether it belongs in there. So I don't know this too well, but I think that was sort of the default was not to push people to put it in, you know, not to push people to put it into recycling. So in that way, maybe we should proceed slowly with labeling the blue ones as landfill.
Yeah, I think there's a huge opportunity there. You're right that recycling in general, not everywhere, not just Old Lyme, but everywhere. So, you know, you have the paper bags, but they have the string handles on them. The string handles cannot go through the recycling machine. You have to cut those out before you put them in there. The Ziploc bags, the zipper on the new tabs, you cannot put the zippers in them. You have to cut them off. So there's all kinds of things that they throw out once they get to the recycling station because they're just they can't go through the machine. It doesn't have the room. If the bottle cap is not on the bottle, it can't go through the machine. You know, so bottle caps alone by themselves cannot go through the machine. So there's a lot of little issues like that, and I think, you know, maybe Cheryl, that's something that we could collaborate on as well, as just recycling 101 or 102, you know, for different towns, for the towns themselves. But yeah, I'm happy to help out, you know, however you need it. And I know Karen Taylor, Rebecca Waldo, Heather Freed, they're just 100% supportive of anything else that you guys need or John Kiker needs in Lyme. We'd be happy to collaborate on all of those things.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Jen. And it's worth noting that Region 18's commitment to 100% clean energy by 2030 was a part of our original certification application last year. And it was an important part of it. And in addition, the school system was the first school system to make that commitment. I know in Connecticut, I don't know beyond Connecticut, but it really has been an amazing and progressive effort. So thank you for all you've been doing to lead that. And thank you for sharing your information with us today. And this meeting goes on YouTube. So if you have parents who just need an overview like you've given to us today, you can send them to the town's YouTube station to watch your presentation there.
I said, that's embarrassing.
No, it was very good. It was very good. We're all getting used to being YouTube stars here. All right. Thanks, Jen. You're welcome to stay, but I know you have a very important, busy day today. So thank you for making the time for us this morning.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the invitation, and I'm happy to join whenever, you know, whenever you need an update, or if you just want to talk. I'm happy to join you just to find out what you guys are doing too. So that would be great.
That's awesome. Thanks so much.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right. So we're going to move on in our agenda. That was a really great presentation. We're moving on to communications and public outreach, and we have Maureen up next with sustainable information displays.
Okay. I'm not sure if your name is Wayne or Kirk Wayne or Wayne Kirk, but could you please clarify your name so that I can put it in the minutes?
Sure. First name is Wayne. Last name is Kirk, K-I-R-K.
Okay, that's all I need.
The name that's on the
Screen.
board there is basically it's like a login name.
Okay, but Wayne is your first name
Yes.
and last name is Kirk. Okay.
Sorry about the confusion.
All right, that's okay. Straightened it out. And you live in Old Lyme, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so I can label it. All right.
So that's just for Maureen's minutes. You're a member of the public joining us today.
Yes, okay. All right. Let me put this on. Okay, well, I am still recuperating from my knee surgery, so I have to apologize for being addled over some of these displays. I don't have any particular display going, but I did some messages. I have an email message, my group that I sent to promote Alan Poirier's presentation at the library. And I will make that a routine now to promote any of those programs and anything else that's on the town or in general list for workshops or information. Let's see what else. Yeah, and the other thing, going back to the recycling, I'm not sure if I have not checked the sustainability website, but I think that's becoming an issue for the town, the whole issue of proper recycling. Between what the first selectman sent out at his weekly update, he made a comment and then reproduced the list of appropriate materials that go into the single stream recycling bin. I think we could expand on that. We could make it more important and call people's attention to it. And I think it's worth going back to the efforts that we had 2 years ago, which was to educate people on proper recycling. So we'll see what's on the sustainability website. I'll also bring that up to conservation next week. But I myself walk around my neighborhood and surreptitiously peek into people's recycling bins, and I am seeing lots and lots of stuff in plastic bags. Not only that, but lots of really bad stuff going into the green bin. So one point that Tim made on his message to the town was that, of course, it just ruins the whole load if it's either wet or inappropriate, or somebody throws in whatever, a computer or a stained pizza box will ruin the whole, it just undoes any effort towards recycling. So I guess I have to kick myself back into that topic again and bring it up and do some things. For me, that labeling that Texas does for their trash bins was an eye-opener, because it's very easy to dismiss trash as opposed to landfill. Landfill has an accusatory note to it, as far as or at least to me, it was an accusatory note, like pay attention. And that may lead us to the topic of introducing better and more available compost bins. I had a fellow resident that said, gee, I need a compost bin. They used to have them through town hall, whereas where I got mine, I have also seen a nice one, geodesic shaped compost bin, where you can put your things in there and then sort of kick it around the lot so that it does rotate and composts even quicker. So you've got usable materials. So maybe to make those obvious, or send out a website, or partner with a business. I haven't thought it through yet, but it seems like it just zeroes out any recycling efforts. And certainly in my neighborhood, that's true, because I have a neighbor on each side of me that is an offender. But I'm not the recycling police, so I don't have the tools to suggest this is not going to work. But I think educating the kids, presentation, I thought that maybe do a periodic or weekly or monthly recycling reminder might be something that would get people's attention. I think it's mostly out of ignorance that people do it. It's certainly more convenient for them to put their beer cans in a plastic bag, but it's still, you know, not right. If they did it right, it would be easier. So recycling is on my list of things to do, as well as doing better and more outreach with the library. So my brain is starting to become less clouded with pain pills, so I can take those things on.
So, Maureen, maybe the first informational display you work on is recycling, and if it's within the Conservation Commission's purview to think about recycling, it would be great if you went back to them and talked about building a recycling information or educational component, because you know, recycling is already very important. Composting is very important. Food waste makes up a large part of trash, as you know, but from the town perspective, also the tonnage, what's called the tipping fee for trash collection is going up. So the collection of trash that's going to a landfill or being trucked off somewhere and no longer incinerated up in Hartford after next year, I think, the cost of that to the town is going up. So I'm meeting with Tim next week to go over just some charts we need, or not charts, computations, I guess, we need for Sustainable Connecticut for the next certification on how much trash we collect, and having a goal of reducing the amount of trash by 10% over a year to 3 years. And a big part of that is people doing more correct recycling and composting.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I can see that as becoming a more important goal of ours as we move forward.
Well, yeah, there's actually economics to it. It's not just nice to have. There is money that either is thrown away by the town or could be recouped by the town if we were recycling properly. There is a list in years past of the tonnage that the town has provided. I'll have to look through my folders, but I do have that list. Probably not, I'm sure it's not recent, up to date, but it could be used as an example.
Well, and that's kind of what Tim and I are looking at next week, is the tonnage figures. And that's something that needs to be shared with the town on the town website somewhere. And that's part of what Sustainable Connecticut sees as a best practice. People need to see how much we're sending away and to get on board with lowering that amount. And, you know, some people have a highly value cost savings and taxpayer savings, and others value that, but also more highly value sustainability and the ecology. So, you know, reducing our trash is something that everyone should be able to agree on, whether you're coming at it from cost savings or from ecology issues.
Right.
Not filling these landfills that we don't think about, right?
Right. Well, people seem to be on board with the idea of recycling because the recycling bins are filled to overflowing, but it's all the wrong stuff. So it completely negates the effort of the individual or the town to put the wrong stuff in there. Even if it's in plastic bags, it's out.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't count. Nobody is there emptying and sorting. It either works or it doesn't.
Right. And I think, you know, I thought I was smart about recycling, but when Jen Miller just said the bottle cap has to be on the bottle, I did not know that. So there are a lot of little details that really need to be shared with our residents. So if you want to take that on and talk about that with us next month, that would be great. Do we have Holly back?
Just one other small note is that I think there's a big misunderstanding that recycling properly in single stream recycling bins is not reusable. I've seen people put clothing and old sneakers in there. I had I had one neighbor that had a complete pot of flowers and the dirt that was in the recycling bin. Well, luckily I was able to pull that out. It looked really good in my yard, but nonetheless, reusable is not recycling. And so the definitions have to be made perfectly, really, really clear to people.
Okay, that would be great if you took that on.
Yep. Okay. That's it.
Holly, you're online now?
I'm not. I'm trying to chime back in online, but I seem to have been kind of kicked off.
Okay, well, we can hear you, so that's great.
Okay.
Okay, let's keep going along here. Affordable housing, I sent committee members a letter last night I wanted to send to Mike Fogliano of the Affordable Housing Committee, and it's just a note saying here's what Sustainable Connecticut considers best practices in affordable housing committee work, and it mostly has to do with having an inclusive process and including the community in defining what works for that community. You can either let me know now that you're okay with that letter going over, or you can email me after this meeting, whether you have, objections or things to add, or it's good to go.
I thought it was great as it was. I had some little suggestions for making it shorter because I don't think everyone has that great an attention span. So I wasn't sure that you should put in quite as much about the guide. I don't know if you got my email. I think I sent it last night. But I thought that we were really just asking them to use our best practices, and our best practice will point them to the guide. But I thought your letter pointing them to the guide as well. I'm just not sure everyone has. I'm not sure that all of these communications get the attention that they would get ideally. So maybe you might shorten it a tiny bit. But yeah, I mean, just sending a letter off at all is good, And
okay, I'm going to take a look for that email. I didn't see it, so I'll make sure I have it.
See it. Okay.
And I'll need to get Mary Jo's input as well. Maureen, did you want to email me after this meeting with any input?
To your letter, you mean?
Yeah.
One of the eye-openers that I've had recently about affordable housing, particularly in relation to Lyme and Old Lyme, is that the terminology affordable housing creates an immediate no, they don't want any affordable housing. It's got this misnomer, and it's more of equitable housing, not just affordable housing. And it really should be cleared up that it's not just, young families. People have images of families moving in from Bridgeport or something, but this is about elders, young working professionals. In my elder years, I'm noticing a lot of people that would give up their homes and take advantage of something that was a little simpler. And the point is, stay in town. Because once people reach retirement age, the first thing they say is the house is too big, I have to downsize, and I don't want to keep up inside or outside. But so I'm the poster child for, I don't want to call it affordable housing. I want to call it equitable or something else, but affordable housing will never pass inspection in Old Lyme.
Yeah.
I know it's the terminology, but it's already down the tubes.
So it's, it's a legal term, and it's what the state is, talking about. So, but to the point of Sustainable Connecticut considers a best practice to be involving the community and engaging the community and hearing what the community wants, goes to your point. So I know Lyme, Connecticut, town of Lyme just did a survey of residents to see what they understood or didn't understand about affordable housing. So it's that kind of activity that is what Sustainable Connecticut is wanting communities to do.
Well, and the other thing that might get people's attention, leadership's attention in Old Lyme, is that people like me or retired people are a good value. They pay their taxes or the rent or whatever the fee is. They use very few services from the town. You know, they don't have kids in school. They're not drawing money out of the town. They're putting money in. And so it behooves the town to keep these people, these retirees, in place and have them continue to pay taxes and volunteer. Look at the benefits. Look how many people with gray hair are serving on these committees and commissions. There's a value to that, and Old Lyme benefits because you've got people who cycle their skills back into the town management, decision making, and action. So people think of elders as throwaways. They're not thought of as a value. So just saying.
Well, we need to change that thinking because the elders in this town have great wisdom to share and time to share. And it's all very valuable. And we're lucky in the town of Old Lyme, so many older residents do give their time to these boards and commissions and land trusts and that sort of thing. So we're very lucky in this town to have a strong community of older residents. But you're right, we do need to keep them in town.
Yeah, and Chair, I just wanted to say, in terms of my reservations, they were very, very minimal. I just, when I focus on something, if I edit it, then that makes me focus on it. And you know, the affordable housing people, my only point, I'm not trying to say that I think they're brilliant. They have their work cut out for them, and they're going to have so many people writing them letters. I think they're going to get so much input from different directions. That was my only reservation about the letter, but I thought it was a good letter.
Okay, good. Well, I'm going to look for your email and I'll incorporate those changes.
Yeah.
The only other thing we have under communications and public outreach is just to make note for our minutes and record is that we did sponsor with the library 2 sustainable energy Zoom presentations, one by Alan Poirier and one by Bill McNamara. And they were both well attended. And I think, Maureen, thank you for the promotional efforts you did. And we worked with the town of Old Lyme Facebook page and First Selectman newsletter, I believe, as well, to get the word out on those. So I think we did our part in co-sponsoring those 2 presentations.
Yeah, I was only able to attend the first one. It was fabulous. So.
Good.
And I'm so glad I got that PowerPoint from it.
And I think it really highlights, there are a lot of people in town who are very interested in these sustainability issues, renewable energy issues. So I think, there's a strong audience in town for all of this. Okay, updates to ongoing projects. I'm going to try to go through this fairly quickly. In Action 3.12, Enhanced Pollinator Pathways. Suzanne Thompson and I are plowing ahead with this. She's done several presentations on Zoom to strong audiences on how to build your own pollinator gardens. We have another few coming up, including a gentleman in April who will be talking about having a pollinator-friendly lawn. We have a very active, the Pollinate Old Lyme has a very active Facebook page with people. We have an email list, and there's now a page on pollinator-pathway.org, which is dedicated to Old Lyme and to our efforts. So the word is out. We're getting good recognition for what we're doing in the town. We're also collaborating with Duck River Garden Club. We're going to have a table at their plant sale. Mile Creek School PTO has us working with them. The Giving Garden at the town woods. We're talking with the head of that soon-to-be nonprofit group for the Giving Garden, Jim Ward, about having a pollinator meadow outside of the vegetable garden. So that will be another location for a display garden. And next week, we're starting our, it should be in about a week that we start our matching grant fundraising for I think it's like Pollinator garden education in town. We're going to do a habitat trail for families to follow, like a passport. Maureen was saying at a previous meeting, the passport idea. We'll have people go to Haynes Park to see Linda Clow's buffer garden, and to Cross Lane to see the butterfly garden and various other gardens around town. So we're going to do that. We're raising money for signage, such as what's at Haynes Park at Linda's Garden. And then building up a garden at the police station to have a display garden that shows a dry, sunny location, what you can do with a dry, sunny location. So we're in it deep with pollinator pathways.
I just have one question about that. You said that we are doing fundraising now. We as individual, Sustainable Connecticut will be matching some donations. Can we as individuals also give?
Yes. So what's going to happen is we'll send out an email and an announcement that we're raising money from individual contributors. It's going to be on a website called Patronicity, and you can give at different levels there. You can give $10 or $5 or $100. And then after 20 individual donations come in, Sustainable Connecticut starts matching that. So like in the last presentation, I think we're trying to raise among individual people $2,600 and have Sustainable Connecticut match that $2,600 for $5,200 in total. So if we had if we had 26 people give $100, that would be like quite amazing. But we could have a number of people give $10 or $5 or $50. So we're hoping to raise $2,600 over a couple of months. Okay.
But if we as individuals, each threw in $5, that would be, a good thing to, apply.
Yeah, it adds up for sure. And we have a strong audience right now, people participating and who would be interested in helping us build that that trail that we want to do in town.
Oh, that's great.
Good. Yeah, very exciting work. And Suzanne Thompson's been doing a great job on it. So excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Action 4.4, provide arts and culture programming for youth. This is an action we're doing with the town of Lyme. We have surveyed middle school and high school students online and learned what they're interested in for summer arts programming. Everything from music to the visual arts, mentoring younger children to taking workshops. It was a very insightful set of survey results. And yesterday we had a roundtable discussion, which is part of the Sustainable Connecticut process, with students who wanted to participate. And they gave us, it was a very inclusive process where students are helping to design programming for students. And they were just remarkable young people. We had 8th and 9th graders, and then I think 1 or 2, maybe 12th graders. But just wonderful participation and ideas on how to reach kids who maybe don't have the confidence to try out art in a group setting or don't feel they're talented enough. So the next step is to see what programming is already available. Things like the Lyme Academy or LYSB or the libraries. We're going to inventory what programming is available. We're going to listen to the students on how best to get that information to them, because one of the findings was that kids don't always know where to find out about arts programming. Their moms may know, and their moms may sign them up for things, but they, if they saw a cool class about, learning to play the banjo or the ukulele at Nightingale's Cafe, their mom or, adult in their household may not know to sign them up for that. So we're talking about how to get the word out to kids directly. And then whatever programming we are lacking that there seems to be an interest in, we're going to work to put that together through the libraries and LYSB. There's also some theater camps going on. There's a lot going on in town. This is a town very strong in arts and culture. And then I believe the town of Lyme will take the lead on that matching grant, and will work to raise some money for scholarships for kids to do programming, summer camp at the academy, or other stipends, that sort of thing that we need to do. And also there is some possibility of scholarships coming out of LYSB. So that's all underway, and the meeting was just last night with the kids, and so I have a lot of notes to write up from that and process. So that was really good. And then the third action, and Maureen, I might put you on the spot here if you're able, is action 3.1, provide watershed education. And I know you also sit on the Conservation Commission, so it sounds like they want to move forward with helping us with that action. Oh, you might be on mute.
I might jump in here while Maureen demutes to say I emailed that stuff to Gary Gregory and to George and to Maureen, but I also included not just 3.1 watershed education, but the 3.7, which was related to education. It was provide education on water conservation. So that was, if that was too much, then that was my mistake. But I don't think the conservation has met since then.
Right. Well, that meeting is coming up next week. Next week is the first Tuesday of the month. So the meeting will be next week. Yes, they're interested. There's a couple of members of the committee that are interested. I'm not going to get involved in that. So we need another liaison who could do that. Maybe Holly, or maybe just, I'm not sure how, but they need to be guided on the whole idea of matching actions and interests to sustainability. There's a lot of scattered ideas, and I'm not the right person to bring that together.
Okay, so what if we ask Gary Gregory to report into us on updates and that sort of thing?
Yes, but he's the one that needs guidance.
Okay.
A lot of great ideas and a lot of energy floating around, but the whole idea of focusing on, basically on getting points, that's not a big interest, not a big draw for them. The idea is, the greater good. Do what has to be done in order to match the actions to sustainability.
Yeah,
So,
I would say I don't want anyone to, outside of our group, I don't think anyone should be worrying about points. I think if you follow, we're going to be good on points. And if they do things within the framework that Sustainable Connecticut provides, like, do some watershed education or water conservation education, and, here are some ideas on how to do it, the points will come. I feel like it's our job to worry about points. And I mean, that's just my perspective, Maureen. I'm open to your perspective as well. But I think if we kind of guide people on, here's how Sustainable Connecticut hopes you will do some water conservation education, the points will come based on how we.
I'm not worried about points either, but I don't want that to be, thought of as a motivation for conservation.
Right.
The idea is not only to choose the action, but to choose it within a time frame. And I know you've mentioned that in messages that have gone out to the members too, but I don't think it's sticking.
Okay. Well, we can revisit them. but so you and I are on the same page. We don't want them going for maximum points. That doesn't help anyone. They just need to start small, which is what I've communicated, and I know you have as well. Just find a lecturer or someone to provide a workshop or a presentation on watershed, watershed protection.
Right.
Or we could just do the signage. That might be the easiest thing. And again, I'm happy to pester people or anything like that. I'm probably a whole lot less talented in terms of these visual presentations, which is what signage is. But signage might be a good focus rather than trying to organize a whole thing.
I think Gary has some good contacts he's coming up with for watershed protection education. Someone, I can't remember what agency she's with, but along the Connecticut River, maybe the River Authority, who can do a public presentation.
Oh,
it can be over Zoom on what's important about watershed protection. I think signs are tricky because you can make the signs, but to have the signs installed, I think that's more expensive and more, it's a more complicated process than just putting on a workshop.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Well,
so Gary's already and Gary's already doing that, or has mentioned that.
He has arranged with Kelsey Wentling from Connecticut River Conservancy. She's going to make a presentation next week at the meeting. It's not a public meeting, but at least it'll help to perhaps direct the Conservation Commission. But the idea is not a lot of time. If you want to submit this in the summer, we're looking at only a few months worth of focused action. But he did arrange that. I don't think it's considered a public presentation or a workshop, but she might be somebody who could do a public workshop if it was suggested to Gary by someone else besides me.
I could talk to Gary. If she could do, we can sponsor her. If she wants to do, Conservation Commission. If she wants to do a public presentation, it can be over Zoom, which makes it super simple. We can get the word out and people can sign up for the presentation. And I would love to learn about watershed protection as a resident. I don't even know what watersheds I live near. So I think that could be really helpful. My thinking was that the Conservation Commission has really, talked quite a bit and promoted quite a bit Sustainable Connecticut as something it, embraces. And so, if they're going to embrace it, then it's a good idea to take on some sort of activity that's in line with what they're promoting.
Right. Okay, well, I'm going to leave it to you, Cheryl, to figure out who is going to provide oversight to what conservation is doing in that. Okay. And I think in some cases it means to limit it and focus it.
Yeah. And all I want is if the Conservation Commission is promoting, we are doing these, we believe in Sustainable Connecticut and we're, interested in Sustainable Connecticut and promoting that, if you want to do that, here's a very simple idea on what you can do, provide a lecture to the residents on watershed protection. That's a simple idea you can do, which is in the, purview of your charter and mission.
Yes. Okay. Let's see where we are.
Okay. Do any members of the committee have other updates or questions or things they want to discuss?
I do.
Hi, Maureen.
Okay, well, just to show you what's going on in the community, I have saved some articles here. This article was in the Day. This lady in Waterford created a seed library that might fit in with the pollinators. She had made these seeds available in her own yard for people to either trade or simply take. I'll send you the connection to that, but what a cool thing is that could be that was set up at the library or the senior center. You know, they've got space for it. The other thing is, do you know Kathy Connolly? She lives
From
in Old,
Saybrook?
yeah, she lives in Old Saybrook, and she has a regular column. One of these recent one was advising darker nights, in other words, less lighting, in order to help the pollinators and other wildlife. And she's got this lovely full column here. I've worked with her in the past. She's very generous about allowing reprints of her columns to be used. And then, of course, that's all free advertising for her. So she's very amenable to that. She's got a nice website, and those are all available. The other column that she wrote was about a grassroots group in New London that were planting street trees. So that might be something, but also as far as Long Island Sound and Watershed, this was submitted by Judy Preston. Are you familiar with Judy Preston? Long Island Sound, Connecticut. Look at full page, full color ad in the Day, being water smart, caring for your lawn, pesticides, bees, and then alternatives to planting. But beautiful. I mean, she is available. She's probably got a grant to do this. Talking about healthy soil, buffers, feed the soil, but it's like a whole book here on this page. Beautiful, beautifully laid out. And she is also very amenable. The other thing too is this Lyme Old Lyme Neighbors magazine has a really nice section on activities and meetings that are coming up. Many of them are Zoom meetings, pollinator friendly lawn. Here's one. Butterflies, monarchs, and migrations is another one. You have to sign up through Zoom. But it's a great place. I don't know if anybody else reads it, but I do. And the other thing too, what you were talking about with, programs for kids, right inside the front cover, there's an ad. I don't know who puts it in here, but it's just a phone number. Design your own cigar box guitar. Now, how fun is that?
Yeah, that's Dan Stevens at Nightingale's Cafe.
It doesn't say that, but as far as enhancing playing the musical instrument, you get to have a lot of fun too with cigar boxes and a really colorful ad to promote it. So the two of them could be very helpful in promoting summer programs. I mean, it really behooves them to assist with that. So a lot of good ways to get the word out. Of course, you know about Roger Tory Peterson, and they took over the Bee and Thistle Inn. They are planning summer programs. So, and here, of course, is Hooray for Pollinators on the back page. So all kinds of good places to not only advertise, but to collaborate.
Yeah, that's great.
This article by the Historical Society gives background of what was the Bee and Thistle. So another promotional hit that we never think about using them. If you were going to do a program at any one of those locations, great way to promote it. Another whole category of people to reach. So,
yeah, Neighbors Magazine is a great outlet, and they go to print very early. So right now they have a deadline for, I guess, their next issue, which probably is several many weeks out. But so if you ever have events or, calendar items you want to get to them, you have to do it really early.
Right, yeah, I don't see any date here, but I know it's very early.
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
Okay. Holly, did you have anything?
Nothing to add. A whole lot going on. I'm very impressed.
Okay. And we do not
Cyril.
have on our agenda, we left off our agenda public comment, but I'd like to invite our member of the public, Wayne Kirk, if he has any questions or comments he'd like to add.
Yeah, here's something that was in the Old Lyme events
Mm-hmm.
article about watershed, and I just happened the other day to, when I read it, I colored it in, and you could see the different watersheds, and right here is where the watershed is for, I think, where you live on Holly Lane.
Okay.
So that would be the orange watershed. The watersheds in Old Lyme are very odd, and that's why the article got my attention. They because of the hills and all the different sources of water, they are very twisty and turny. So it is watersheds are confusing in this town. So you're not alone.
Absolutely. I'm going to have to take a look at that article. And I have to say, Maureen here, I believe, probably wrote that article for the Conservation Commission. I don't know. Did you, Maureen, about the
Yeah.
watersheds?
If it's from the Conservation Commission, it's from me.
It's an excellent article. It got my attention. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
That's great feedback, Wayne. Thank you. Okay. I think we are ready to adjourn. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of the three of us.
Aye.
Aye.
Wayne, thank you
Alright.
for coming. Thank you for caring enough to participate. Good to have you.
Yeah, thank you, Wayne.
Yes,
You're
thank
very
you.
welcome. I enjoyed it. Learned a lot. Thank you.
Oh, good. Thank you. Well, next time you can teach us.